welcome. My name is Lindsay and I want to talk about hemiplegic or hemiplegic migraines, whichever way you want to pronounce it. I've heard it both ways. I want to talk about hemiplegic migraines today. Sorry about the fan noise in the back, but it's way too hot not to have it on. Anyway, hemiplegic migraine symptoms are really similar to stroke symptoms. So a lot of times people might think they're having a stroke like I did. I've been having them for years now. The first one started, I think I was like 26 or something. I will tell you the story about that. It was embarrassing and terrifying. First, what is a hemiplegic migraine? So it's a migraine. It's not a stroke, but it can become more serious. It can cause seizures or coma, so it is something to be cautious about, and definitely talk to a doctor if you start having these. They are more than just a regular migraine, but what differentiates the hemiplegic migraine is hemiplegic migraine, you will get the aura, and a lot of normal migraines get these as well. So you can get these auras, it's like bright colors, and then it does start to affect your vision. So the difference with the hemiplegic migraines is you'll actually start having trouble speaking. Like you will not be able to form words, you can't really think of the words you want to say, and then also you'll have trouble understanding words. So when people are talking to you, you don't really, it's kind of like a gibberish. You might catch a few words every now and then, and this can last varying amounts of time. Some people actually have like symptoms for weeks. I've only experienced it for like a couple days at like max. Usually the symptoms are much less after the first day. The other difference with the hemiplegic migraine that kind of makes it seem like a stroke as well is you'll have one-sided paralysis, meaning one side of your body will go numb. Unfortunately for me, it's usually always the left side, so I'm like, oh no, something's wrong. But I know now it's usually just the hemiplegic migraine. And there's lots of things that trigger these migraines. I know for me, like fluorescent lights definitely trigger them, stress, certain foods. There's so many different things that can trigger it. A lot of times you might not even know what triggered it. Definitely like frightening when they first happen. So the first time it really happened to me, I was in university. I was in a psych stats class, and it was like a long class. It was in the summer. So I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I start seeing these auras, like bright flashing lights. I'm like, oh, whoa, this is freaky. But I'm like, I've heard of migraines before. I was like, it's probably that. So it starts happening, and then I start not seeing as well. And then the teacher's at the front, and I'm starting to not be able to understand what he's saying. Like, I'm like, well, I'm hearing him, but I'm not understanding. So I'm starting to get a little worried. And then I'm just not able to function really well. I start trying to type the equation on the board into my calculator. I just kept missing the buttons. Like I could not do it. So that was making me really scared. I was like, okay, something's wrong now. And maybe I didn't want to make a disturbance, and plus I'm in the seat at like the wall, so I'd have to like sneak by people and be like, excuse me, and then make it to the front and like disturb the class. So I just kept sitting there, trying to act normal, and then all of a sudden my face started going numb, and I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't good. And it was on my left side. I was like, okay, that's not good. I know that's not good. And then my left arm starts going numb, so I'm like, okay, that's really not good. Something's wrong. And then my tongue and my lips started swelling. And I'm trying to stay cool, trying to stay calm, trying to pretend like I'm still listening to the professor and not taking notes. Anyway, luckily, just around this time when my face started going numb, it was break time. So we had like a break. So I'm freaked out. So I'm in the hallway trying to look up if there's like a doctor on site, like what to do. Like I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. Anyway, embarrassingly, my professor comes walking back, and I jump in front of this guy. I go, I have a question. And he obviously is thinking it's a stats related question, obviously. And I go, is there a doctor? Is there a doctor on campus? And he's like, what? And I'm like, I think I'm having an allergic reaction or something. I don't know. I didn't want to say stroke because I didn't want to freak him out, or I didn't know. I thought allergic reaction, we'll go with that. Anyway, he's like, yeah, you go down the hall this way and you'll go across the campus and it's in this building on this level. Anyway, so I start booking it over there. Mind you, I'm having trouble kind of walking. Things are going numb. I'm having a hard time seeing, having a hard time talking. It's not going well. So I make my way to this clinic, and I am at this point sobbing because I am freaked out. I'm trying to communicate with the front desk person, like what's going on. I can't talk. It's like gibberish. I sound like I'm drunk. She understands things aren't going well, so she gets me seated. So I get to see one of the doctors, luckily on campus, and she starts taking tests. And they did the tests that they do for a stroke. So, which is nice to know. So if you are having these hemiplegic migraines and you're worried it's a stroke, there is tests you can do to differentiate. So usually you will see like one side of your mouth drooping if it's a stroke. So you can look in the mirror, see if that's happening. Sometimes it happens a little bit with the migraine, but not the obvious drooping. The second is usually you shut your eyes. Someone else is gonna need to help you. Shut your eyes and you hold your hands up, and if you're having a stroke, one's gonna lower. So get someone to help you with that. So anyway, I went in, they did these tests, and they're like, yeah, okay, we don't think it's a stroke, but like everything is like sounding like a stroke, but we're not sure. So maybe just head to emergency. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. And they're like, in the meantime, take a Benadryl. I was like, sounds good. So anyway, I'm calling my parents. They're about like 40 minutes away. Like school's in town. We live outside of town. Anyway, so I'm calling them panic. They don't understand what I'm saying because, once again, gibberish. So, but they get the point that they need to come get me. At this point, I've already had health issues. They get it. Something's wrong. I call my parents. They're on their way. So I go back to the classroom because, like, as I was in a frenzy, like telling the teacher I had to leave, he was like, just leave your stuff here. If you're not back in time, I'll take it to my office. So I got back while the class is still going. Once again, so I'm trying to like get in, get my stuff, and leave with my parents. But I go in, I know my parents are going to be another like 15-ish minutes, so I kind of just sit in class with my stuff kind of just like zoned out. You can tell the teacher's like, oh God, like, is she okay? Like, what's happening? Anyway, the class ends and we're supposed to have a lab afterwards. So I go to him and say, hey, listen, there's some issues. I will not be attending the lab. I'm sorry. That's fine. No big deal. Let me know you're okay the next time I see you. Anyway, so go home feeling miserable. Freaked out, not sure what's going on. We did eventually find out they were the hemiplegic migraines. I still get them quite often. I just got one recently this week, which was really bad. I was in the store and it hit, and it was not fun. It seemed like I was drunk wandering through the store. Anyway, so yeah, after I had that, after we figured it out, I went back to school, let the professor know what was going on. But it was so embarrassing to have to like jump in front of my professor, like accost him and be like, help me find a doctor, please. Luckily I've had that professor so many times since, and he's great. But yeah, very embarrassing, very scary when it happens. So if you ever experience some of these symptoms, obviously go get it checked right away. But if you're scared and you're thinking it's a stroke, try those few things. Like I said, check to see if you're drooping, your mouth is drooping. Get someone to test you with your arms being up, eyes shut. They have to be shut, and see if one drops. And that could be like your major indicator. And for treatment for these kind of migraines, I haven't had a lot of success. Like there isn't as many like pills to take. Because some of the pills you take for normal migraines actually aren't good for hemiplegic migraines. So definitely you can see a neurologist. I saw a neurologist and mentioned this issue. That was not why I went to the neurologist. It was for a cerebral spinal fluid leak, but we discussed the migraines, and he just mentioned, you know, you'd have to try to avoid the triggers. You don't want to cause these, you don't want these happening all the time because they will get worse. But anyway, for me, what I do, I take a Benadryl. This is not medical advice though. I take a Benadryl because it helps reduce the swelling. I've talked to doctors and pharmacists and they say, yeah, that makes sense. Once again, not medical advice, go talk to your own doctor. And then when the aura comes on, if you can immediately like get somewhere dark, cover your eyes, try to get that aura to subside as quickly as possible, then usually your symptoms like aren't as extreme. That's what I've noticed. So like if you can get that to subside really quickly, you might be able to like reduce the symptoms. But anyway, that is what a hemiplegic migraine is. So if you're ever concerned if it's a stroke or hemiplegic migraine, do those few tests and definitely go and see a doctor and get it sorted out. And thank you guys for joining me. Hope you have a great day. Bye bye.